Hi, Yella. Hope you guys are good, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Chatty Hosts. It is me, Boyti, introducing us. I'm with Karma and Austin, and today's conversation is being left unread. I don't know, this conversation is quite intense and personal for me.
And I definitely feel this is a much needed conversation because a lot of people are struggling with this issue, being left unread, and what emotions come up with just a simple being ignored.
And just to elaborate for our audience, we are aware that this feeds into the whole abandonment thing, but we are going to be focusing specifically on this specific action within itself and how this we do find many people struggle with. So we know it's part of a bigger thing, but we really want to get into the nitty-gritty of this topic.
Okay, so I quickly just want to break it down to like what it means to be left unread. Being left unread is when you text someone, they open your message, read it, and either get distracted or feel overwhelmed to respond at the time, and they need time to actually digress what you just said, or they're just busy. But however, it tends to leave triggers. Personally, I know it triggers me to hell and back because I feel like when I text you in a moment and you have time to open my message, in my head I'm just like, you kind of need to respond. Now it's like, chai brew, like, why are you not responding to me? So yeah, it has triggers to me, and it leads me thinking that the person doesn't want to engage in my conversation, or oops, I might have said something wrong. It makes me self-doubt. Like, am I being inappropriate? Or like sometimes when you're flirting with someone, you send a picture and they're just like, no response. I'm just like, oops.
Yeah, then you're
Sit
wondering.
there not knowing what's going on.
It's those thoughts that start to come. It's that whole like sense of self-worth starts to step in. That whole, am I too much? And the sense of, and I'm just going to throw it out there, entitlement.
Yes.
That is very true. That is
And
very
I mean,
true.
that is difficult. And listen, I'm 100% in agreement there. Like, when someone responds to me or when I send a message, I expect them to respond back. However, we sometimes forget that there is bigger things at play.
Reality check.
I want to actually break that into 2 points. So there's two sides to this. It's a real mirror. There is the side of whatever your wound is being triggered, and that is completely valid. Whatever that trauma or response is that you're getting, it's valid, and that is needing healing, and that's where it's coming from. But the other side is, and this is where my favorite book, The Four Agreements, come in. You are not entitled to anything from anyone, so you can't take it personally, and you can't make assumptions. For all you know, as that guy opened the message, he dropped the phone in the toilet, and it's done. There's nothing he can do about it.
Yes.
And it has nothing to do with you. So it's like you got to, we're aware of it, but we're also not aware of it. We constantly play and bounce between the two, the knowing and the not knowing.
I love how you just work it down, because in reality, because we're going through something at the point, or you want the sense of urgency, you forget that the other person might be going through something worse.
Yeah.
Or as you said, they might have dropped their phone and it's not working, and that's the reason why they can't respond. It comes back to overthinking.
Overthinking. Yes.
We tend to be in our heads a lot.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard to practice not overthinking. It's a very hard thing. I'm definitely an overthinker.
I know.
So I think maybe practice not overthinking and think of possibilities as to why you're not getting a response at that time and moment when you expect it.
But I think it's also good to reflect on why you're needing the validation from another person. So what is that drive to have that immediate response? And I know, like, I think we all have that specific abandonment abandonment wound, not root. But it's that, like, that whole, you must be aware of it and acknowledge the feeling, but don't allow it to control your life.
And I also want to just touch up there. It's natural for us to want interaction. I mean, we are community-based people.
Yeah.
You know, that's the human race. It's all about community. So it's also important that, you know, you don't, this is where you've got to watch out that we don't become too hard on ourselves, but also understand that you do want that response. There's a reason why, you know, if that's making sense.
Yeah.
But the important part that I wanted to also just bring up yeah, to that is one really has to always check the facts, you know, and I love what Karma said there, like, it's not always about you. It's important that, and like the 4 agreements state, certain things you are not entitled to. It's not yours, and it's important to just be like, okay, there's bigger things at play. I'm not the center of attention. That there is actually, you're part of something bigger. I think for me personally, once we stop putting such pressure on ourselves to be the sun, to be the center, we're able to not allow these kind of left on red situations trigger us deeply.
And I know it sounds so easily said than done,
listen,
but I'm sitting here like, yes, Austin, yes, Karma, yes, preach. And then reality is that I'm going to be left on red again. I'm going to go all spiral.
Yeah, way too big emotional response to that. I know I personally get it. Like that whole like, where's the self-worth? Self-love goes out the window. Yeah. My groundedness is just like everything just starts unraveling and you sort of go down the spiral of, but why am I not loved?
Yeah.
And then you see where the wound is actually. When you actually look at it and go, oh, well, I know why you're here and you're valid.
See,
that big emotion.
It's that validating it. Yeah. And that's where a lot of people get it wrong. We don't want to validate that feeling. We don't want to actually sit with it. Then we'll go and do things, you know. We'll
message another person.
Yes,
exactly. And then you're trying to fill that void, but it's so important that you validate it. That's most of, like, especially in psychology, like, that's the biggest thing, is just awareness. Just being aware of it. And you think, okay, so I've just got to be aware that I feel shit. Yes. Just got to be aware. And when we say sit in it, don't dwell in it. Sit with it. Just be like, okay, I'm feeling upset now, but is this all me? And you'll start to realize, no, it's not. It's only a part of me. And then, especially, this is just like, I think I wanted to share one of my personal things that I noted. So, of course, I was in the dating world, still am, but I started to notice that I was definitely attracting people that were emotionally not there. So you've got to understand that, you know, when you start to see that you're getting left on red a lot, you need to start to really question where this is a pattern. Now I've got to start taking note. And that's when you start putting down that boundary and you start communicating and you say, listen, I feel unheard. Let's say to this person that you're writing the message to. And then this gives you an awesome opportunity to see, is this person worth keeping? Because if the person responds and goes, listen, my God, I didn't know that that's how you've been feeling. Like, let me please explain myself. Then that's all good and dandy. But then if the person still leaves you unread, that is a huge indication to let that relationship go.
A definite answer. I want to touch base on that because I would struggle to just open up and be like, if I text you and you don't respond, I'm just like, oh, you don't care about me. Why must I come and explain myself to you? But also what you just said, Austin, is the fact that you need to communicate these feelings to the people because it's all in your head. You don't know how they're thinking, or probably they don't take it as serious as you do. After having that conversation with them and the reaction you get from them, only then can you conclude what really is going on. Yeah.
And I feel that brings us to maybe the next part of this, which is, let's talk about the etiquette rules. Hey guys, why don't we share etiquette right now?
That's an interesting approach. Do you elaborate?
So, I understand we all live in a busy world. I mean, God, our phones itself is literally an extension of our body. We're literally carrying a world
on our hands.
On our hands, okay? So things are happening. Business, life, whatever. And you got people who need your attention. If you are overwhelmed or busy, just let people know. It's a simple message. Just say, hey, listen. I mean, I've done this a couple of times. I've had some friends who have sent me essays or books, because of emotions or, something's been going on the week. Then I go, listen, I know I really want to answer you. However, I'm quite busy right now, but I'll get back to you, okay? Yeah. And then, boom. just be honest. Just be
Communication.
vulnerable in your honesty.
You do that a lot with me because we don't see each other a lot because we're busy. But when we ever have an issue, you're my go-to person when it comes to emotional stuff, and you do it beautifully. You just say, "Thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to get back to you. I'm just busy right now." And it's just that, like, okay, I feel heard. I feel seen, held. This person has acknowledged that there's something big going on. They have acknowledged that they will get to me, but they're just unable to right now. And then my entire nervous system just calms down.
Are you hearing that, my people out there? It's just a simple acknowledgement. Just say, hey, I see you. And now, of course, don't put pressure on yourself. So sometimes I would also do this thing where I'd be like, I'll answer you by today. Then sometimes I couldn't get to you by today. So yeah, you're like,
I will get back
yeah,
to you.
but then again, that comes back to the 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your word.
Yes.
So when I say I will get back to you, I will get back to you. Then you've got to move into that. You've got to get back to the person. Then again, I need to go. We can go deeper into this topic. Why is it that I am overwhelmed? Then you got to look deeper into that, and start just fixing it around.
Yeah, and I think that actually feeds into if you don't have space to take on more relationships, be clear with the people around you about that and say, I actually don't have time to speak to anyone right now. I need to focus on this. I love you, but I don't have time to talk right now. It's just that clarity of communication and allowing people to understand your expectations and your ability. So what am I expecting from this friendship from one side, and from the other side it's what am I actually able to give to this friendship or a relationship or whatever it is, and then allowing people to understand. And if that doesn't serve someone, then that's also valid. If someone needs a friend that's really there for them but you can't be that friend right now, then that friendship's not going to serve either of you, and it doesn't work for either of you guys to feel bad about it, because then you end up triggering an old wound that the truth is the abandonment wound, it does not come from feeling left or freed.
Yeah, it's
Read
deeper.
is just
It's
it is
deeper.
just the one trigger
It
that we know.
stems from childhood. Yeah. Listen. But so again, just really elaborating here. Let's bring efficacy back. Let's bring responsibility back. Let's make that beautiful again. Let's bring back respect for one another.
So in overall, what you guys are saying is that communicate clear. When you can't get to someone, let them know that I'm kind of busy right now, because it brings some sort of fulfillment on the other person's end.
It brings clarity.
Doesn't drive you crazy thinking that you're being blatantly ignored by the person. Just acknowledging the fact that they're busy and they acknowledged your text message or your feelings. Because I know it sucks. Like, imagine being excited about something and you just want to share it with someone. The person is not in that headspace to share the joy with you, and it bums you out.
That actually leads me to 2 things. One is, and I practice this a lot with Austin, because we talk so deeply about the emotional stuff, I will often message him and say, do you have the space to take something on right now?
Oh my gosh.
So, because you could just be having a difficult day and truly just not have the space, and then I can't serve you. I can't give you what you need, the support, nothing. I cannot. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. I'm dealing with my own crap. It's that, like, do you have the space to take on some drama right now? Do you have the space for me to rant? Do you have the space to listen? So it's that. And then on the other side is when you are needing to set that boundary or explain how you're feeling, take full responsibility for your feelings. So it's not you made me feel this way. It's I feel this way because of something.
Question.
Yeah.
So I recently had a conversation with someone, and when you text a person, you just know their patterns, how they react and stuff like that. So I was speaking to a friend, and within our conversation, I could pick up that she's not okay. Like, I think it's important to be able to read in between the lines when people are not okay, so you know when to back off. Like, I remember we're speaking, but I didn't receive the energy I was wanting of her. And I was like, my girl, you're seemingly not in the mood for this conversation. Whatever it is that you're going through, I hope you get through it. And when you're better space or mindset to speak, can we revert to this conversation? And I left it be, because we tend to nag people for our selfish reasons, because I'm expecting a reaction out of you. This is what I want. We kind of pre-plan conversations prior. You know, I want you to be excited with me right now. And it's like, you can't have things your way all the time. It's okay to acknowledge other people and read between the lines if they are actually in the mood to speak to you.
Yeah.
Or you're trying to ring someone and they're not picking up your call. Just leave them alone. They're just not trying to pick up anyone's calls.
And don't call them 15 times if they're not picking up.
I don't like when people ring up your phone 10 times. What's going to change? I didn't pick it up the first time. The phone is not going to bounce or start doing different things. I don't want to speak.
Yeah. I think it's respecting people's boundaries
Yes.
when it comes to communication, because the phones, they give us this feeling of immediate gratification. I Google something and it's there for me immediately. I'm not waiting for the answer. I don't have to go to the library to search up what you need. It's immediate. So then we get into this habit of immediate gratification, and our friends, they don't have time for that. I'm sorry, we're all adults, we're all busy, we all have lives. I don't have time to answer everyone continuously, and no one should have to either. So there's so much that goes into play for it, from your own personal boundaries to the boundaries of others, and it's ultimately just about how you articulate yourself in respect to other people.
I just want to tap into a personal traumatic experiences with being left on red. I know it triggers me to the core. It's not a hidden secret or whatever. I am still trying to figure out this whole dating thing, but because I've been left on red by men I tend to like. If not being left on red, ghosted, where a person just never gets back.
Ooh, I find it the most disrespectful thing.
It is a disrespectful thing. It's actually known as an immature thing.
I hate it. For me, it's exactly. For me, it's if I said something, or if you don't see this relation going anywhere, respectfully, please let me know that, hey, I think you're a great person, but I just don't see way forward. Every time I start speaking to new men, I always let them know, please, instead of ghosting me, just communicate, because I hate not having closure. Is it, am I wrong? Am I overwhelming you? Or maybe you got distracted and found someone else and you just couldn't get back to me. There's nothing that I hate than not having closure to something that I thought would be so great. So when it comes to my personal traumas, that every time someone leaves me on red, I automatically feel like they're rejecting me. And that might not be the case, but because of my past experiences, it literally puts me in a corner where I have sleepless nights. Oh my God. Am I crazy? Am I a lot? And I hate how it makes me feel, because now I'm drowning myself into so much questions, doubt, and I forget who I am. And I really forget that I'm not in control of anyone else but my own emotions. So being left on red for me is a big, big trigger that I don't want. It freaks me out. Yeah, that's... You guys have any personal...
I think
Thank
that's
you.
valid. That is
That is
completely valid.
freaking valid.
And I'll actually go into that. I've actually had a couple friendships where people would just ignore me. In the past, not even on red. I can definitely tell it stemmed into this. Now, if someone doesn't reply to me within an hour of reading it, I start freaking out. But I know that stems from, in my real life, so out of the digital world, I've had friends who would just ignore me.
We're having a conversation, they ignore you?
Yeah, halfway through the conversation, they decide, okay, you're too much for me. I'm just not going to talk to you anymore.
That's mean.
And on multiple occasions with multiple people. So when someone ignores me, my brain just switches and it's done. It's an automatic switch of, okay, I don't feel safe anymore. I can't engage with this relationship anymore. And I know that that's not healthy, because the truth is, we've gone through in this entire conversation, it's not always about us. Specifically in the digital world, you can't see the person's face, you can't feel their emotions, you're not there.
I think that's the worst. The fact that you can't see, feel an emotion, or see the reaction or touch, that makes it even worse.
So for me, it's I get very big emotions specifically to being ignored, or feelings of being ignored, that I constantly have to stop myself from spiraling to that self-doubt, self-hate kind of thing. So from my personal experience, what I'll do is affirmations. I'll affirm to myself. Firstly, it's always, you're not entitled to anyone's time. Nobody owes you anything. Don't take it personally. Don't make assumptions. You're held. You're safe. And then if I'm really feeling something, I'll actually check in with a friend who I know will reply. And I'll just be like, hey, I just wanted to say I really appreciate you, because I'm aware that there's love. There's love. It's just like that personal mental reminder. It's not a validation thing. It's sort of just that, like, just remember that you do have people who support you, and this person not replying is not a reflection of whether or not they have time for you or of your worth.
Looking at the bigger picture.
Love that. Yeah.
So for me, especially in romantic relationships, when it's come to my friends, I'm really clear about my my close friends that I have around me, and I've made it very clear to my friends, like, listen, if we don't respond, I understand, like, because I respect you so much, but romantic relationships, So I've been on quite a journey of just like, hey, Austin, you are enough. We don't know what that person's going through. The fact that you're putting yourself out there is already a well done, a high five. But that, from a romantic sense, like romantically, yes, I will get triggered. I will then start questioning my sense of love, or like, am I worth investing? That kind of thing. So, but I'm also just starting to realize, like, you know what? Regardless, I love me.
I just feel like it's so crazy that when it comes to relationship, like romantic relationship and friendship, we understand. And then in romantic relationship, it has so much of an impact. Because I'm just like, I'm attracted to you. Yeah, why is you not attracted back?
Deeper level of vulnerability, I think. It's like that I'm opening up to you, and you're not. It's like standing at someone's door and the door's open and you're like, hello, can I come in? And they're like, no. You're like, do I stand here? And they're like, yeah, no, just wait at the door. And you're like, it's raining outside. Like,
it's raining and it's cold.
It's cold. Yeah. You're not sure whether you can step in or not. And I feel like it's overcoming those emotions and understanding that you can just walk through the fucking door.
I love how you said you're not sure if you could step in or not, because when someone makes me feel a bit insecure about stepping in, I'd rather not step in at all. Don't give me the doubt.
Yeah, you see. But now that's a boundary.
Yeah.
Doubt, honestly, is something that has affected many of my relationships. Yeah.
But it's just one big thing I want to mention here, just as a nice key. Especially romantic, if the experience or the feeling is confusing, or there isn't a clear answer, it's a no.
Red flag.
Yeah.
Then you got to step away from that.
But I do believe that there's a step with that. There is the step of communication.
Yeah.
So it's when you do bring something up. So you'll have a reaction. We all have reactions from our trauma. That's not necessarily a reflection of other people. That's a reflection of ourselves. It's the communication that comes after that shows whether there's a red flag or not. So maybe that person just is short of hearing and doesn't actually hear you when you say, hey, what's up? Yeah. And then you're like, oh my God, that guy ignores me. Ew. Yeah. Like, fuck them. But in actual fact, they just can't hear you. So that initial being ignored, you're like, oh, red flag. But then when you talk to them, they're like, oh, sorry, I don't actually hear anything. And you're like, oh, then that's actually not a red flag. So it's the communication that comes after conflict.
Okay. So I believe to just round this off, we're all, let me not speak for everyone, but I tend to be insecure at times, and I believe that in such moments when people leave you in red, it's okay to kind of sit down, self-reflect, and remember it's not you. The person is in a tight spot. Also to remember reading in between the lines and just realizing that they might not be having a good day, and clear communication. Yeah. If you can't be there for the person or actively respond, let them know so that they don't dwell in their heads. They know there's assurance. You can't get to the phone because you're busy.
Yeah. And just one more part, there's a bigger picture. Yeah. There's a bigger picture to everything. Yeah.
Don't take it personally. Just don't. It's not worth your peace of mind. And remember that you can validate yourself. Yeah, like you really can just feed your soul. Feed your soul.
All righty, guys. That was a great conversation. Please do share our link. Suggest us to your friends. We do speak nice things. Follow us on our social medias and please subscribe and set that alert thing so every time we drop a video, you hear. Yeah. Awesome.
Right. See you then.
Alrighty, bye. Bye.